and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liss. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. We use the space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring.
Today, we're going to be discussing the topic of congruent behavior. What do we mean by congruent behavior? Well, the correct framework for this is around about the 1980s. It became really popular based on new scientific understandings that the mind and the body do not exist separate from one another. But in fact, the mind influences the body, and the body in turn can influence the mind. And so the whole mind-body movement exploded on the scene, conceptually and even in the health arena. And everyone was talking about the mind-body connection and how mind over matter can even be physical. And that was wonderful. In the 90s, that was taken in even further when people started realizing that, okay, it's not just mind and body, it's mind, body, and soul. And so those people who are more inclined to be spiritual went with mind, body, soul. And those who are more inclined to be intellectual about it went with mind, body, psyche. Either way, the energy field that was added to the mix of mind and body was that of emotional health, emotional well-being, the seat of the soul in the heart. So we started understanding that the mind, the quality of the thoughts in our minds, and the heart, the quality of our feelings, that we hold on to, that which we repress, affect the body. And physical states of the body, extreme toxicity, lack of health and vitality, make it very difficult to harness high and healthy and happy emotional states, make it very difficult to harness healthy thoughts and not be prey to things like depression. So the mind, body, soul movement was very popular. And yet, in spite of that, in 2024, most people still think of the mind, the body, and the soul somewhat connected as a trinity of energetic realities, and yet still separate things. And the truth is they are not. They are literally one energy field that cannot and does not function apart from the others. And so that is where congruency and coherence become so vitally important. So by way of example, it's not going to be enough for me to decide today that I am going to be an extremely positive person. Good vibes only. I'm only going to think happy thoughts. I'm only going to entertain butterflies and sunshine. And I'm not going to let myself think of anything else at all, while I am completely ignoring my trauma, my negative emotional history and patterns, and allowing myself to feel 100 different negative ways. Then on top of that, allowing my body to not get sufficient rest, never giving it water, not caring about what I eat and drink, and then expecting my positive mindset to change my life. Bad news, folks. It's not going to work like that. It doesn't work like that. And it can't work like that. Likewise, if I refuse to acknowledge my emotional reality, no amount of organic, vegan, detox is going to help me to be in a better physical state, because the body cannot recover without the heart and without the mind. So primarily, that is the first thing that we are talking about when we talk about congruent behavior. It is first and foremost within ourselves. Before we start talking about what about how congruent we are in our lives and with others and with circumstances, situations, and things, let's first bring our awareness to how much coherence is going on within me and the universe that I am. What do you say, Laurie?
I say beautiful. And I guess I interchange the words congruent and holistic, meaning holistic. And it's a great point that you brought up is, you know, no amount of veganism is going to change the fact that I feel this way. And no amount of telling myself that life is rainbows and sunshines if I feel this way or if I think this way. It really is an all-encompassing package of the self that we do have some thoughts and some behaviors and some beliefs that might not be in line with what it is that we do truly want. So if we really start to examine congruent behavior and we do go deep within and see what's building the foundation for what we see without, the within and the without conversation, what is going on in our mind and what is going on in our heart and what is going on in our desires that is either supporting what we do want or what we don't want. And then the magic happens in between in the process of becoming more coherent, right? So it does require us to have a deeper understanding of ourselves and how these dynamics manifest in our world, and understanding our authentic self. It brings back that harmony, right? And do you believe that there's a difference between coherence and congruency? I should kind of start there with, are they interchangeable? Because everybody is probably hearing this word coherence right now. I think there's a difference between coherence and congruency, and understanding that difference. I think there's a buzzword, right? The buzzword lately is coherence. Let's talk about that just for 1 second.
Basically, coherence is the perfect working together of things that are different, but they're in line, they're not misaligned.
Yeah.
And congruency, it would be impossible without coherence first. So coherence has to be established. Things have to be in line and of the same sort before congruency would even be possible.
Yeah.
Because congruency is a working together of an outflow. So if there wasn't alignment from the get-go, how are you going to get a congruent outflow? It's impossible.
Right.
So yeah, that would be my opinion.
No, I agree. It was that's a great definition. I would agree. And again, I believe it does start with that self-reflection, that understanding of the self. And what is it that I do believe is authentic for me? And how does my behavior demonstrate that authenticity in my life more consistently? And I believe that's how we get
exactly, yes,
we grow more.
We're just going to add that is the number 3 in that trinity of C's. When you've got coherence and congruency, then what you have to have is consistency.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not going to maintain your congruency and your coherence for very long. So consistency, yes, is critical. That is the number 3.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do we start becoming congruent? How do we start looking at where are the disharmonies and how do I fix that? You know, we always want to fix the things, and we always want to I don't want to spiritually bypass. I don't want to dishonor that which I'm struggling with, because it's always going to be there, right? We're always going to have the non-rainbows and the non-sunshine following us. We can deny it all day long, but it's going to be right there following us along the way of everything's beautiful and everything is wonderful. And how do we start developing that consistency and the congruency and the coherence? Good place to start is always with the self, right? We have to. Where else are we going to start? But then what do we do?
Well, first of all, let's not start with the whole self.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's a
the
big
whole
bite.
self is far too much and is probably the project of at least 2 decades. So let's start with one thing, just one. Let's pick one thing and then address that one thing on every level of our being. So that one thing that we would like to address, what thoughts are we thinking about it? Are they true? Are they false? Are they real or not? What beliefs do we consciously hold about it? And can they pass the test of, is this in my highest interest? And if not, we need to dismiss them. Thirdly, what subconscious programs are running around this thing? And how do I reprogram that? Set about doing it. Now we've taken care of the mental plane. Now, still on that one thing, what am I feeling about it? And is that true? Is that the only option? What is my story emotionally about this one thing? Can I forgive it? Can I heal it? Can I let it go? Can I disassociate and disidentify from everything I have wrapped around this one thing emotionally? How am I going to choose to feel about it now? And now we've dealt with it emotionally. How does this one thing manifest itself physically? Because it does. Where is it in my body? Where is it in my life? How is it reflected? Who do I project it onto it? Why do I do that? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to eradicate it from where it is in my body? How am I going to correct how it's manifesting in my life? Give yourself no less than 3 months to do all of that about one thing. Just one. Commit to one thing. Because what's going to happen overwhelmingly and miraculously is that one thing is going to show 1,000 things to you. So taking on one thing is more than enough. But address that one thing holistically. Your beautiful word, Laurie. Address it mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, psychically, spiritually, if that floats your boat. Address it as all the aspects of you so you can heal it in its entirety. Then you have achieved inner coherence, congruence, and if you will do that consistently, you will have a completely new reality, picture, body, mind state, feeling state, and reflection in relationship, things, and situations. It's wonderful. But make that commitment to just one thing. And like I've said in previous episodes, please don't choose the biggest, hardest, most horrible thing in your life. Let's start small. Practice. Get good at this. Let's start with a little thing. If the biggest challenge in your life has always been the fact that you overeat, please don't choose that. That's your Everest. What is your hill?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for you, your hill is that you've always spent a little bit too much. Why don't we choose that? That sounds easier. Let's climb this hill. Let's address that hill. all of me. And then maybe after 6 or 7 of those hills, we'll be brave enough to face Everest because we'll know we can.
And I think it's
That's
a natural process, right? When we start with just start out hiking a flat path, and then we hike the small hills, and then we hike the bigger hills. By the time we do get to Everest, we're really, really, really good at hiking.
Yeah.
And Everest is still a challenge, yes, of course, but it's not nearly as daunting as it was when we haven't exercised our muscles at all in the process. You know, just again, you have another great analogy. The process of climbing Everest takes a person months and months and months to prepare. Sometimes it can take a person more than a year to prepare. Many times they don't conquer Everest the first time they try. Some people try 6 times, and you know what? It doesn't matter. Have grace with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Nobody is judging how you are learning to hike and learning to conquer the mountains. Nobody but you is in charge of this process, right? So nobody from the outside has any idea that you are working up to hitting the peak of Everest. So be sure.
And maybe you started with walking 1 block every day after dinner.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Just
because,
start.
even the people who start out extremely fit have to train for a year before they can climb Everest. So, if you've been on the couch for the last 30 years, give yourself some slack.
Right. Some love, some grace, some time, some patience, and knowing that if you do this consistently, you will achieve success, and you will build on that success. And perhaps, like I said, by the time you actually do start conquering the big things in life, the unhealthy relationship we might have with food or with money, those are really the biggest ones, I think, in life, is when we've mastered our relationship with food and we've mastered our relationship with money, we're really going to rock it. Because those are some of the biggest things that, relationships, money, and health are always the 3 biggest things that somebody wants to seek healing for. And when we can start to move through the hills and the little mountains and then the big mountains, we're unstoppable. But we do have to start somewhere, and we might trip and fall, and we have to give ourselves grace. We have to give ourselves love.
Yes. Because, Laurie, consistency is going to give us confidence.
Yeah.
Consistency is going to show us, you know what, I think I might just be able to do this, actually. So we need to give ourselves a chance to have some evidence of that, to have an actual feeling state of being able to believe in myself. It's so, so important. And the reason why, on a greater platform than just me, myself, and I, consistency is so important, is because that is the primary difference I see between the dark and the light. The dark is nothing if not consistent. Man, they've got consistency down 100%.
Yeah.
If you know someone who's a selfish person, I guarantee you they are never not selfish. They're always selfish. In fact, they find miraculous ways to be selfish that blow your mind. It's like, how is it even possible that this human can be selfish about something like this? That is the degree of consistency. It's amazing. Wow. I don't see that with the light because we give ourselves excuses. We give ourselves an out. So I'm loyal. I'm so loyal. Until I don't freaking want to be.
Yeah.
Until I decide I don't like you. Until I decide you don't deserve my loyalty. Or one of 200 other. Now I'm not loyal. There's no consistency. And the fact that we give ourselves an out about that is the work we haven't done. That's the work we haven't done. So that is why it is so critically important to let's just start with one thing, one fairly easy thing, really doesn't matter what it is, And let's really exit so that we can be consistent effortlessly, with ease and with grace. Second nature becomes first nature. It's not always work. But let's get really, really good at it so we can consistently be really, really good at it. It's so, so important. Because how can we have a powerful influence if we're only exerting it sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
And not the moment that it's a little bit inconvenient or a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit hard.
And you mentioned a really important word, I think, evidence. I like this. I think this is a great tool that people can use. What is the evidence that we are working our way up toward Everest? And I would say when we start to see some consistency in how we feel and how we think and how we are interacting with others and our experiences that are occurring, you know, even in those first 90 days, we will see evidence of the work that we put in. Just like when we go to the gym and we start to see evidence that our exercises are working for us, these mental gymnastics and these emotional workouts that we do, we will start to see evidence.
And so, yes, I would just add in closing that one of the main forms of evidence is that you just feel lighter. You can feel the relief of what you no longer carry. You don't know how heavy it is until you're not holding it anymore. And then you do feel that lightness, and it's wonderful. Another form of evidence is that you don't have to deliberately choose to think your chosen thought anymore. It's become natural to think that thought. And one of the main forms of evidence is emotional, because our emotions are messengers. When you can talk about it and not feel anything, you know you are free. As long as there's an emotion, doesn't matter which one it is, there's still work to do. So use these things as guides. Before you decide, I think I'm done with number one, I want to get to number two, those are the signs to look for before you start taking on your next thing.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.